Hello, Matt Clarke. How are you, my friend?
Henry, I'm great. Great to see you. Great to be with you today.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to have you here, and part of this leadership series. As we talked about a little bit earlier, we are trying to get some of the people we think have the most practical and insightful experience in the industry to come chat with us a little bit. We're on a mission to try to discover. We have no we have no thesis, we have no bias, but we're trying to probe and find out what are leaders concerned about at this stage of the game, independent mortgage bankers, what keeps them up at night? What are they focused on? What are they thinking about? Where do they think the hockey puck is skating towards? As we all know, the industry is completely saturated, and rightfully so, with the concept of artificial intelligence and automation and neural learning and all the things that modern computing can do. And then there's the practical reality of running a business every day. So
Yeah.
I look forward to kind of getting your perspective on a couple of these things. But before we start, man, I just wanted to level set a little bit. And we were talking about COVID before a couple of years ago and how much that impacted the world. But if you look back, it's 2026. If you look back to 2021, 5 years ago, over the last 5 years, your thoughts on what's changed the most in terms of running your business day to day, if anything?
That's a really good question. I think back over the last 5 years, what's changed the most to me, I think, is my level of expectation around what's possible
Mm,
and balancing that with the reality of the day. I
mm,
think so often there's somebody shared with me years ago that wisdom is seeing truth and aligning with it. And I think unfortunately for a lot of people in every industry, and ours is the same, many of us got through the seasons of 2019 through 2020, 2021, and we believed anything is possible in this business, which it is. But a lot of folks had to swallow the bitter pills of responding and reacting to what the market is giving them in every season. And think about those last 5 years, we've had seasons of some incredible volume, and we've had seasons of extraordinarily tight business, and where volume fell off a cliff. And the promise that technology is going to be able to solve all of those sways in volume can be true. I think that is possible. I think the reality, though, is that it's not as easy as it looks on the side, on the surface, and it's not as easy as it looks on social media when you look at all of the things that people say they can do. I think what's changed for me is I've become far more skeptical about what's true
yeah.
until I can prove it. I don't, I've learned to not talk about what we're gonna do, but,
Yeah.
but manage the business based on what we can do right now, and then work on what's next, but don't bank on it until it actually has the intended impact.
Yeah, my grandmother used to have a saying, God bless her, and it was pre-social media, but she used to say on television, because you ever notice on TV, nobody ever has pimples. And her point was like everybody promotes all this amazing stuff, right? This outlier kind of capability. And we're gonna explore that. But I would ask you, let's go back even further. What hasn't changed in the industry for all the conversation about what's going to be different with AI and automation? If I go back to 1999 versus now, you walk in the building, you got processors, underwriters, and closers. What hasn't changed very much?
Three things. First, nobody actually wants a mortgage, right? They want a solution to a problem. Their problem, they don't have cash to buy a house, or they don't want to use the cash to buy a house.
Right.
So they get a mortgage, but nobody actually wants it. Two, business is done with people they like, know, and trust. All things being equal, people do business with people they like, know, and trust. All things being unequal, people do business with people they like, know, and trust. And so right now, I do believe that the majority of the mortgages in this country are being done and will continue to be done because of relationships that people trust.
Mm.
And so that's not changed. That's still the same. And then the third thing that I don't believe has changed is that the silver bullet, the secret weapon, what makes business work, what makes companies win, elbow grease.
Interesting.
You show up every day, you go to work, you work your butt off, you treat people the way that you want to be treated, and you're smart and you continuously learn so that you can adjust to the truth of the moment. You have a really good opportunity to win in this business and any other.
Well, I've had the blessing to actually meet a lot of your people, work very closely with you and your organization, and you're one of the few organizations that I think walks the talk as it relates to putting people first, people ahead
Mhm.
of profit. You teach your loan officers that, you teach your folks that. So I'd like to start our tech conversation a little bit around what has changed in terms of recruiting loan officers, promoting loan officers, supporting loan officers in terms of their expectations for how technology is going to help them.
They want technology to make their jobs easier. They want to be able to leverage technology that doesn't replace them or remove them, but enhances them. At least the good ones do. There are plenty of people out there that are afraid tech is going to replace them, but there is even more people out there, I believe, that are interested in how they can leverage technology to put more of them into the marketplace. So from a recruiting standpoint, we have to have systems and tools and processes and things that will allow prospective teammates to come in believing that working with us is going to be able to enhance who they are in the marketplace and give them and put them in front of more people. So we've got to show how we help them develop opportunities and relationships and leads. And we also have to be able to show them the systems and tools we have in place to help enhance who they are and allow them to grow their business without necessarily growing their calendar.
If as you think about helping them to grow their business without and making them more productive and efficient, I know we have talked in the past about sometimes the constraints of legacy systems not allowing you to get there as fast, and frankly, legacy people not wanting to change as
Yeah.
much. If I gave you a magic, a special wipe the board clean
Yep.
cleanser, and you could start from scratch, how would you, in your mind, set up your operation for maximum productivity? If you didn't have any constraints and you could do it the way you wanted to do it, start from scratch. Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, if I had, if, look, you're giving me the magic eraser
Yeah,
and the magic pen,
yeah, and I'll give you
right?
the tech too.
Right. If I could develop it and have it be done like that, like everybody thinks they can, I'd build the platform from the ground up. And I'd start with the customer experience. And I'd work backwards from there. And I'd look at what does the customer expect today in terms of transacting business, any business,
Hmm.
right? And I'd work backwards from there and make sure that our customer, our salespeople, have exactly what they need to deliver to what the homeowner is expecting in terms of transacting business. So I'd build an entire, I don't know that I would even build a loan origination system. I think if you want, in my limited way of thinking, I'd build a database, a mega database, and then I'd build off of that a compliance engine. I'd build off of that, and I'd bake in as much um, automated technology and artificial intelligence, things that you know way more about than I do, to help not just have an AI system operate on top of a legacy platform so that humans don't have to do it, but I'd make the platform an AI-enabled platform with humans in the loop, managing those agents and managing those exceptions and doing nothing but managing risk and relationship and have all of the other transactional work and really initial risk management and all of that done by machines. And I would give our salespeople the tools that they need to very quickly respond to every client's needs that are in front of them so that they can change more lives. They can impact more people. They can help navigate folks into making great decisions because on the sales side, as I said earlier, people don't want a mortgage. They want a solution to a problem. What's the problem?
Mm.
Most people step into their mortgage experience thinking they know what solution they want, and that's just not true. I think it takes an incredible trust and a human to get in there and find out what's going on, Henry. What are you really trying to accomplish? Why do we want to accomplish it this way? Have you thought about these different options? Could we structure it this way or that way? Do you have something 2 years from now that you're thinking about that you need to be preparing for? What about like all of these things, you want to be able to build a platform to free up people's time to engage with other people.
To
So
really serve them almost like a financial planner is the way you guys approach it.
yeah, I mean, I think I would want to be extraordinarily human, supported by extraordinary technology that just allows the human connection and risk management to take place.
So I got to ask you about that because I had a conversation today. I was talking to an old colleague, and I had a client slash boss, because the client's always the boss,
Yeah.
that we were developing some tech for, and he had said to me at one point, "If what you build me technologically is anything short of push button get mortgage, then the product is a failure."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, what do you mean? You don't want anybody to talk to anybody?" He goes, "There's no reason for there to be a conversation. The consumer should just expose their data, push button, they get put in the right product of the right price. It's automated, automatically decisions, and then gone from there." And then in my mind, my response to that was, "What's the value add?" How do you feel about the need to stay, connected to people and not automated to the point where it's like a antiseptic clinical experience?
You think let me tell you what popped in my head when you were saying that. Trading stocks has been that way a while.
Yeah.
Anybody can go out there, go online, open up a trading account with any number of online brokers or investment banking houses, get their own stocks, get their own portfolio, and manage it. Push button, trade stock. And a lot of people actually do it really well.
Yeah.
Most people benefit from a financial planner.
Hmm.
Most people benefit from having conversations. Most people benefit from dreaming about their future with a professional that can help carve out a plan to get there. And so when I think about the fact that the financial planning business is still a very robust business, even though for the last couple of decades, you and I have been able to trade stocks on our own without somebody, an intermediary, helping us make those decisions, we still have them. And I think that way about mortgage. I think, yes, you could push button, get mortgage. You can rocket yourself to a loan you regret. But I think at the end of the day, most people's financial lives benefit from professional advice. And the mortgage is a huge part of their financial life. And most people end up having situations that aren't that easy. Then think about the QM market, right? All of the non-QM loans that are being done right now. It's crazy how much people are doing with DSCR loans and non-QM loans and bank statement loans and all of these other types of product. Like all of the product that's not your standard 30-year fixed, 15-year fixed mortgage require great advice around and structure and solutioning and how do we make it fit? And so there is a portion of the business, push button, get mortgage. You can do that. I think the majority of people are going to benefit from real, true relationships. And then, if you spend a little time up front to make a great decision and then you can execute within minutes, that's really where the win is.
Right.
So we want to execute. This industry, it's actually tragic how long it takes to go from, yes, I want to move forward to the closing table. And that's getting shorter and shorter and shorter, but it's wild. I think if you're going to spend a couple of weeks on a mortgage, you should be able to spend most of that time analyzing your options, structuring things right for you and your family, making sure you're talking it through to make the best decision so you're not sitting there 2 years from now sweating because you made a bad one and you don't know how to get out of it. and then just a few days to let the manufacturing process come through and close your docs.
Yeah.
That's really the target in my mind.
So in your mind, it'd be tools that would allow for a um, calm, cool, collected conversation at a reasonable pace, so people are making good decisions. And then once the button gets pushed to execute, super efficient, make it
Mhm.
fast and easy, but don't rush from the beginning to the end and force people into automated situations where they're not actually engaging with a human.
I use AI right now to plan vacations. I've been looking up where do I want to go spend Christmas this year, and I'll ask all the different engines, different advice on what are the best places, and this and that and the other thing. But then you know what I do? I take that information and I sleep on it and I think about it, and then I ask people, "Have you been there? Is all this true?" And someone will like, "Yeah, we did that, and it looks like that because that's what it tells you on the internet you should do."
Yeah,
But in reality, I've been there and it was really dirty. And I
yeah,
didn't have a great time, and the food was awful.
yeah.
And the flight, oh my gosh, the flight, I would never fly into that airport again. Like e- experiences, other people's experiences are the best teacher. We should learn to leverage those. Yes, technology has a place in doing that,
Do
but
you get the opportunity? You're part of a number of organizations that are operate as consortiums, and so I know you interface with other C-suite folks a lot. What's the dialogue like when you all get together in your secret, top secret back office meetings, as it relates to AI? Are people excited? Do they
people
see the
are
opportunity?
so excited.
Yeah,
People are so excited. People think that things can happen at a moment's notice with AI, and for the most part, some of it can. And so when we sit around and we talk about what's happening, everybody's doing something. And everybody thinks they've got the secret sauce to how it's done and what they're doing and their partner and this thing and that thing. And they're doing it and they're doing it and they're doing it. And guess what happens at the same time? Next year, they're still doing it and trying to make it work. I think the secret to technology is knowing not just how to plug it, how to develop it, how to vibe code, which is a cool thing these days. I'm just learning how what that means and how to get and stand up these systems. But it's okay. How do you not just stand it up, but how do you make it work? How do you get the intended result? And I think that's where great partnerships come into play. I think it's funny. A company can stand up the shell of a AI agent, whatever how you get the right terminology, in a weekend. All right. You can stand up an agent in a weekend or a day to do part of a function, part of a process. And it looks like it can do it. And it like that. Then you spend the next 3 to 6 months figuring out how to get it plugged in to handle all of the different iterations and all of the problems and all the unexpected things and
yeah,
this state requirement and that state requirement. And guess what? Then you've spent all the money and you've put it in, but then how do you make that work for your business economically?
yeah,
Either
yeah.
has to increase revenue or decrease expense, or you're just putting something cool in place and spending money looking cool.
Now you've got a long background as the chief financial officer of your firm as well,
Yeah, I'm a recovering CFO.
so how do you these days, does the way you budget for tech expenditure, both on the run day-to-day side and on the innovation side, does it differ today than say maybe how you allocated funds 5 years ago even?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. How?
I think it's far more integrated today.
Okay.
I think in the past it would be like, okay, we're going to spend X amount of money to build this platform or this system. The reality in today's world is we have to partner with our operators to develop agents, bots, whatever you call them, that walk alongside so that it's just part of who they are and what they do. And it's more of a daily discipline and an embedded discipline today than it's ever been because these systems are impersonating people.
Yeah.
So you have to have them involved in the process.
Do you have to, as you think about your workforce today, your physical workforce, the people that actually come in and, work
Yeah.
in the building, not your digital workers, but your physical workers, um, recruiting the same type of people? Can the people from 10 years ago be as successful, both not only on your technology team, but operations since they have to work so close together? Do you think it's a different breed of cat?
You're asking it, that's a trap for me. Hopefully not everybody's listening, but I've
You can
you
pass if it's a trap.
no, no, I want to answer this one, right? We have to be in search of the best that can be done, not the best that we know how. That's one operating principle you and I have worked on for a long time. What that means to me is the best that can be done today might not be in the minds of the people who created a process 10 years ago, which they believe to be the best that could be done then.
Yeah,
And
fair enough.
so for me, I think it's incumbent upon a company to mix the value of experience with the value of new thinking. And there are generational differences in terms of how people understand and expect to interact with systems and technology in business that, quite frankly, some of the beautiful, loyal, hardworking people we've had on staff for the last 20 years may not have. And so as you're recruiting in talent, you got to bring in talent that's going to operate the business in a way that tomorrow is going to require, not so much yesterday, but you can't throw away yesterday because you need them both.
Yeah,
So
fair enough.
I think as we're recruiting talent, operational talent, technology talent, we're looking for people who are willing to stretch and think differently, and even people who know nothing about the business.
Interesting.
Young people who come in that are really smart
Yeah.
are willing to challenge everything we believe to be true, right? The most dangerous thing for any of us is what we just absolutely know to be true
Yeah.
that isn't.
Yeah.
And I think right now there are a lot of young, smart people and getting into business that just see it differently. And because they see it differently, they imagine it differently. And then all of a sudden, that influences us old dogs who have only known it one way. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that is different. So I think you have to be committed to a mix.
So I'm going to ask, since we're on loaded questions, I got to ask you another one.
Yeah.
So, it's a big industry, right? I was telling somebody the other day, I don't think people realize that mortgage origination in and of itself, the housing industry is 26% of GDP, and probably closer to a third if you throw in all the technology and the ancillary services and that circle around and feed the industry. So it's a big part of our economy. For years, our industry has been dominated by, a dozen to 15 very large technology firms, legacy systems firms, who have had market share. And we're not going to name any names, but a handful of them have even further increased market share through conglomeration. To what extent are legacy tech guys showing up in your building with their sales and innovation teams and offering you hope that they actually have some keys to the kingdom?
You know, you asked initially what's changed in my thinking over the last 5 or 6 years. I don't believe those mega legacy platforms, even though they have the balance sheet and the technology and the capabilities, I don't think they hold the answer to the future.
Interesting.
I think there's going to be a bunch of smaller boutique opportunities that step in and offer something dynamically different, a different way of thinking, a different way of running the business, a different way of doing things, and have the capability today to develop a solution without all the the technology tax and the friction of legacy platforms. I do think there will be some of these larger legacy companies that have the capability of carving out a big part of that market because they're innovative and they're going to accept their truth of having to innovate in a different way. But if they come in and they promise their old platform is going to change my world, right? I go back to the Bible. There's a verse in the Bible that says, You can't put new wine into old wineskins.
Mm.
It'll crack it, it'll break it, it'll bust it. Some of these are old wineskins.
And when you do you challenge them on that? Because one of the things that we've seen as we've talked to folks is I had a C-suite guy say to me the other day. He said, Henry, here's my dilemma. I know there's better technology out there, and I know there's better technologists who can build things that I really need with my team. But let's
Mhm.
say we did build it and we actually installed it, and the build and the install cost me no money. Let's say there was some wonderful scholarship that I received.
Right.
My dependency on legacy systems for accounting and hedging and secondary and subservicing and compliance and reporting and staffing and HR time and payroll, I'm not sure I could unplug it and put the new one in. I don't think I have the team internally to handle the change management. I thought it was really an honest answer, but do you ever feel that way? Like,
Oh
even
yeah.
if you could rip and replace and start all over again, that you're just so married to legacy that the only choice is to leave it and work with it?
I think you have to be really wise about how you transform your business. I remember listening to a talk a couple of weeks ago, and I think it was Jeff Bezos, and it wasn't him talking; it was somebody talking about him. And they told the story of how at one point he had his board of directors, his trusted advisors, and they came to him at one point and said, "Hey, Jeff, here's what's awesome and about you. You have so many ideas. You are such an incredible idea guy." And they said, "But you have to be careful because you're probably going to bankrupt the organization. You have so many ideas, you could destroy us
Oh, wow.
because you can't do it all at once.
Right.
You can't, and right. And so I sometimes feel I've got more ideas and I want to run at a pace that's faster than the organization has the ability to run with me. And that's not anything about me. It's actually a negative, right? I have to settle my desire to create and change and grow and innovate to the reality of the truth of the moment. I have to run a business. And so as you're making these changes to your business, what you have to do, you also have to make sure that you're taking care of today business and your people today while you're working towards tomorrow. And I think that's the hard thing for a leader, especially a leader that desires change and growth, because you can really suffocate your team and not do any of it well. We have
Right.
customers today that expect our best, and our best today is what we have to work with today, and we have to work on tomorrow.
I've
So,
heard you talk a lot about seasons.
yeah,
There's a season for everything. We've been in a fallow season, it feels like, for a couple of years where we've had the skinny operations way down, even skinny, perhaps technology spend down because the revenue hasn't been there.
yep.
And that doesn't look like it's changing materially anytime soon. Do you worry at all about the ability of your organization, given where you were operating 3 years ago, where you were operating like a wide open factory at full tilt go? Then you had to downsize like everybody. If the market was to come back with a significant, um, macroeconomic, whether let's say rates dropped a half a point or something that artificially induced demand, do you ever worry about your ability to scale back fast enough with the technology changes you have been able to make?
Uh, it would be arrogant of me to say no, because that's exactly the time when something would blow up in my face. When I say, no, I don't worry about that.
You got it under control. I got it all figured out.
I worry less about that today than I did 5 years ago. One,
Interesting.
and one, because we've gone through an experience that happened. And what I saw were great people doing great work. And that's fun. What I also have experienced since then are great partners doing great work, new technologies doing great things for companies. And as we've begun to embed some of those, both partners and technologies, our ability to scale has enhanced. And I also think we've been there, we've done it, we know how to do it, we've done it really well. And that to
Is
me
there
gives
any
me
one area,
confidence.
as you look at your fulfillment operation,
Mhm.
applications coming in the door? In a traditional world, there's some initial pre-scrub and eligibility that goes on, and then there's some processing and procurement that goes on, and then there's underwriting and closing, and then post-closing delivery. Which of those areas do you think is most vulnerable to a bottleneck if volumes were to really, really accelerate really quickly?
Processing.
Interesting. How come?
Well, because they're basically the concierge in that file. They've got
Mm.
to move that through. All right. There are more and more engines that enable underwriting decisions. You can bifurcate a big chunk of that process and you can break down the processing flow as well. But at the end of the day, they're kind of the middle of the tire, right? They're orchestrating everything, and so you can componentize a big chunk of that. There are systems out there that like 3N that offer a lot of those services and will scale up and down, and those are really awesome, right? Because and that's another reason I worry less because I know we have some great partnerships out there that are allow people to take advantage of workflows and systems
I'd like
and
to meet those guys someday.
a global workforce that can help with that. But at the end of the day, I do think processing is the one of the most important components of the entire manufacturing flow. Not just from keeping the file moving, but the relationship management, the communications between clients and realtors and salespeople and underwriting and right, they're kind of the ones making sure that the end borrower is loved on and cared for. And so that piece, you need to make sure that they have enough time in their schedule to do what's most important, which is managing that relationship and giving them an experience that they want to talk about.
Let me ask you a P&L question if I could. So, when for years and years and years, if you were in the technology and consulting business, a lot of your focus, your business case for anybody wanting to work with you is I can save you money because I can make you more productive and efficient,
Mhm.
which usually meant you were focused somewhere on the back of the bus, in terms of where the work gets done operationally, the fulfillment, if you will, because that would reduce your cost to serve and you could put more pennies in your pocket. Then around, let's call it let's call it 2016, there was a huge proliferation of point of sale tools. You had your blends, your roostifys, and so the world suddenly was awoken to, wow, we could actually have a really cool customer experience. And I think the whole world over indexed on everybody wanted to have the slickest, coolest online application that would make you a cup of tea and wash your hair and fill out an app for you. Those were the guys that got a lot of capital. And I think the reality is, you and I both know, while there was some great advances in experience there, nobody's P&L got hugely differentiated because they implemented one of those POSs. In fact, we've seen that the record shows product cost to serve and has gone this way, productivity has gone this way over the last decade in spite of all that. So from a P&L standpoint, as you think about automation and technology, are you more focused on growing top line through automation and innovation, or are you still equally focused on let's get costs down as low as it can go, or is it a balance?
I think it's a balance, Henry. I think technology and automation can help facilitate both. I don't, you don't make a profit because of a piece of technology you plug in or a system that you buy. You make a profit because of the disciplined management of the business that leverages those things in the right way
Yeah,
and spends money they know produce a return. Now, part of that, quite frankly, is the industry's expectation that you have it, your salespeople's expectation that you have a great point of sale, you have this flow, you have that thing. But the cost of those things need to come down, right? All of this technology, you stack five pieces of technology into your workflow, all have a price per unit tied to it. Unless the collective price per unit allows you to generate that plus in revenue or remove that plus in expense, your P&L got worse. And so it's the discipline, implementation, and management of those tools to deliver to the organization what they expect you to deliver to them as a leader, which is a profitable organization.
that's a big responsibility.
Yeah, it's hard.
When I met you a few years ago, one of the things that was seemed like with both you and Mr. Hardwick, when I first met you guys a couple of years ago, um, you asked me a question about, or you seem really intrigued by the idea of all of these leads that you've aggregated over the years that are sitting in your database. that you didn't do a deal with for whatever reasons.
Yep.
You didn't consummate the relationship and they're just sitting there. And I know you were passionate about, God, if we could just resurrect those, reinstigate those, convert
Yeah.
some small percentage. It's like a 20% growth in sales without trying, if we could just go back and get those. Have you made progress on, lead conversion?
We have actually. We have. And the nice thing is today, you know more about those people than you've ever known, right? 15 years ago, they were a name, well, hopefully an email address and a phone number. Now we can run them through all types of iterations with publicly available data and match them up. And so we now know behavioral things about them. We know kind of we have information about them. And we're able to then apply intelligence to that information to trigger us to identify this one might probably has a son going to college next year. Might be a good reason to reach out. This particular person is sitting on a healthy dose of equity, but a ton of consumer debt. That might be someone to reach out to help refinance out of some financial situations they're in. And so what you're able to do now, when you can parse in so much publicly available data and tie it in, it lets you really manage and nurture that database in a meaningful way. It doesn't automatically convert them. You still have to then engage them in a way that they trust. People still do business with people they know, like, and trust. And just because I know Henry needs a blue shirt doesn't mean when I call Henry and offer him a blue shirt, he's going to trust me. So you have to stay in a circle of trust with all of these people so that when you reach out, they know you and they trust you.
Let me ask you a question about that because you guys, today alone, I received 3 phone calls. They were chatbots. They were very believable. They
Mhm.
had my name. Uh, it was conversational in tone, but it doesn't take but 2 or 3 times to realize it's AI generated.
Yeah.
What is your organization's thoughts about using chatbots and artificial personas to talk to people to tee them up for the loan officer?
We use them. We have voice AI systems up embedded in our front end process. We don't use them on any new leads. We don't use them on things that otherwise a human can be making those calls on. We use them on maybe some more seasoned leads. We use them to tee up what we like to do our annual mortgage review calls with clients to get them scheduled and transferred over to a human to follow through on that. And so we kind of use that as a safety net to help just make sure that contacting never ever stops so that we can be making sure that we're doing everything we can to connect with the people who raise their hand to do business with us or have raised their hand in the past and do business with us to keep them engaged. We
So you are using it,
we are.
and early stage results effective.
Uh Fair.
Okay.
I mean, reality is it's fair. We're making some getting some traction.
Yeah.
Um, but like you, people know.
Yeah.
And we've only focused so far on using the voice AI on opportunities that we weren't getting to. And so we've not taken a big risk in our approach.
Fair enough. No harm, no foul, right?
So it's better than not doing it at all,
Right.
but it's not producing the result that we would hope over time as we get better at training and scripting and using and timing and all of the things that are required to leverage that piece of technology. We have to keep growing and getting better. It's not going to do it for us. We have to train it to do it with us.
And let me pivot a little bit for you because I know how much of a data, I was going to say a data nerd. That sounded like I was going to insult
You
you,
can
but
just say nerd, and I'm cool with that.
so for the listeners that wouldn't necessarily know this, because Matt's been a customer, I have been in his very large, well organized office, and there is a pristine table that sits across from his desk, and on that pristine table is this ridiculously large ledger binder, and it's called a run book, and I don't know how many pieces of paper are in your run book. Looks like 500 to me. Uh, every piece of data about your business, its profitability, its et cetera, is in that run book. Can you tell us a little bit about your run book?
Well, I've always been an old school paper guy. I still take notes with a pen and a paper and a pad, and I've got stacks of them. And so when I think about the way that I like to consume and understand, it's it's very hands-on, it's very tangible. I like to write, I like to make notes on things, I like to look at my reports, I like to sit down and read without a screen and actually that's just the way I ingest information, it's the way I process information, it's the way I like to use it. And so that's how I operate. So I like to see all the things that I need to be paying attention to there in paper. And I also am learning to digitize my experience because it's more efficient. It might not be better for the way I used to learn, but if I'm going to stay in search of the best that can be done, I've got to learn to better leverage the tools available to me.
That's why I brought up your run book. I wasn't setting you up because I
No,
think that in our conversations in the mortgage industry, we tend to focus on, the main play, which is application through investor delivery. But you are still a business, and you've got HR, and you've got compliance, and you've got accounting, and you've got finance, and you've got procurement and supply chain. Um, as you look at those areas, have those areas changed recently in terms of their adoption of modern technology? Are they getting more streamlined? Can you do more with less?
all of them are. All of them are. All of them are learning how to leverage technology to enhance the value they bring to the organization. And they're all doing it differently. Um, and yeah, you can do more with less.
So I'm going to ask you to put as we kind of wind this thing up, man. It's been, and we could go on. It's just so fascinating to chat with you. But you are a teacher and a mentor by nature, I think, is fair to say. And I'll share with you that in secret or in private or off the record, a lot of young executives have shared with me that they feel like if they've recently stepped into a leadership position of a mortgage company, they're they're facing odds that they didn't realize they were going to face, and they feel ill prepared for because they feel like they've got three things going on at the same time: a ridiculously dynamic macro microeconomic environment where they can't see where this thing is going,
Mhm.
an ever changing set of customer expectations as their worlds change and they expect more and more, from a technology perspective. And then third, this whole AI thing about, you know, a couple of young executives shared with me that in their first board meeting, the board told the C-suite leader in his MBOs by the end of the year, he had to demonstrate tangible ROI benefit from at least four AI solutions that had a significant impact on the P&L. They didn't tell him what or where or how. They just said they
Good.
told him he has four, and they gave him a dollar amount, and he's stressed about it. So what I would ask you is, if you were coaching these folks that are in their first C-suite role and they're stepping into the current landscape, what advice might you give them about how to organize themselves and tackle this beast?
The first advice I would give them would be to organize and tackle their own emotions.
Mm.
And I would say, good for you. Doesn't it feel good that somebody has trusted you with such a massive responsibility? And then I would remind them, you're going to fail unless you do the work to grow into it. And this is an incredible opportunity for you to grow as a leader, for you to grow as a human, you to grow as a professional. And I'd spend some time on what those areas of growth are. Right? Part of those areas of growth are your ability to um, not just motivate people but to truly understand behaviorally the people in your charge. And the reason that's important is because you can go out and get the coolest whiz bang piece of technology known to man. If you don't, if the people in your charge don't trust you enough to help adjust, that they're willing to change their behaviors,
Hmm.
that technology is not going to give the ROI. And so the other thing you have to be able to do is grow in your ability to understand and discern those people. Some of those people are going to get in your way and eliminate your ability to be successful in adopting these technology systems, these platforms, these AI things. And so I would just coach them. yes, you have to understand what AI is capable of and what the dynamics of the business that you're trying to solve for are, and allow not old thinking to get you there, but new thinking to help you create a new solution. But you have to be an expert with people because it's going to be those people that are going to allow you to get the return you're looking for. And sometimes you have to give those people, you have to liberate them to new opportunities because in the role they're in, that's not the role that's going to bring success for your organization.
I think you may need to translate for the audience, liberate to new possibilities.
Put them in it, find a job for them in the company that suits their thinking, or invite them to go find a job elsewhere.
That's a great way to say.
But I think that's the advice I would give them. I'd say embrace the fear and the stress because it's real. You can't say, "Oh, it's nothing. I got this." No, go get it. Get the people around you that'll give you the advice. Have folks that are willing to challenge your thinking. Dive into understanding human behavior and how people respond to these things, and be an expert at being able to communicate that to those folks. Because at the end of the day, technology is great. If you don't have operators willing to embrace it and put it to work, it's not going to give you the return you're looking for. So you have to understand the operators.
So I'm going to ask you to follow up on that question, and this will be, I think, probably our last question, and it's a bit self-serving. As you know, we're doing this
Yeah.
leadership series with our friends at Pragma, and Pragma is a turnkey uh, software development firm specializing in digitization and platform design and bespoke software development. And you know they're a unique organization because they've got all the engineering capability in the world to design and build. And in full disclosure, I've used them to build things, and so anything can be built with the talent that they possess in their engineering core. What's been interesting is going into the US mortgage market, knocking on the door of a CEO or CFO or a president, and introducing themselves and probing for the right questions to find out, how can I help this mortgage company? So I would ask you, as somebody that probably gets a lot of knocks on your door with people coming trying to position themselves as somebody that could help you, what advice would you have for a technologist who's knocking on doors of people saying, look, we can build stuff, we can create stuff, but how do they resonate with somebody like yourself and your peers who are super busy, super focused, lots of things going on? How do they get your attention?
Social proof.
Hmm.
Social proof.
And social proof equals.
Well, what I've done. This is what I've done for others, and here is proof that I've done it.
Hmm.
Right? People change behaviors because two things are present. What's in it for me and proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And so what's in it for me, you have to be really good at articulating, this is what I can do for your organization because this is, and then make that believable, make that something that they understand and speak their language, and then have proof that you've been able to do it. It's really easy to talk about what you're going to do. Everybody does that. It's on the roadmap, right? You know what the roadmap doesn't have? A destination. It doesn't have an endpoint. It doesn't have some place that somebody ever got to.
Yeah.
Right. So I get so tired of listening to roadmaps. I want to know, okay, we can execute and that there's a shared responsibility to execute.
Tangible evidence of mastery.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Matt, I promised I'd keep you 55 minutes. I think I'm right at
You
55
did
minutes,
it.
close to it.
Good job.
Um, Great job, man. Thank you so much as always. It's so refreshing. There's not a lot of C-suite guys that are as technical as you are in the weeds, but also understand that human component. It's probably why Churchill is who you are.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. This technical stuff, there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
I'm glad we have people like you walking us through it.
Well, I have to remind myself and put this in the recording. You guys can use it as a tagline. What's in it for me? Proof,
Proof.
proof beyond a reasonable doubt, and speak my language. That's
Yep.
probably pretty good advice.
Amen.